probably seen many kinds of maps. Maps using different patterns of colors and lines to show physical features of the Earth. Do they look complicated? Maybe when you're first learning to read them. Let's make it a bit easier. On this map of North America, we'll take out the words, the boundary lines between countries, make the land all one color, and one more step. There, that leaves just the continent with its coastline. Looking at the coastline, we notice a large, narrow arm of the land which reaches out into the water, a peninsula, the Florida Peninsula. Here's a photograph of the Florida Peninsula taken from a weather satellite. See the shape of the peninsula? Jutting into the sea, it's almost surrounded by water. Bodies of water take their shape from the land. A large part of an ocean, almost surrounded by land, is usually referred to as a gulf. This is the Gulf of Mexico. Gulfs and peninsulas are the most noticeable features of a continent's coastline and give it an irregular shape. Moving in closer, we can locate smaller features of the coastline. Here's an arm of the land extending into the ocean, not nearly so large as a peninsula. A cape, Cape Cod. From the air, we see how Cape Cod hooks around an area of the ocean. A curved area of water smaller than a gulf is a bay. This is Cape Cod Bay. Over here is Buzzards Bay. Buzzards Bay is a sizable area of water partially surrounded by land, but not nearly so large as the gulfs we have seen. Perhaps you can recognize other features of the coastline. Notice that some portions of the land don't quite touch one another. Such a body of land, surrounded by water, is an island. Offshore islands, such as Nantucket Island and Martha's Vineyard Island, are found off the Atlantic coast. The Pacific coast has a vast network of islands. The largest of these is Vancouver Island in Canada. Looking more closely at some of these islands, we find a number of water passages separating the land masses. Such waterways are referred to as straits, sounds, and channels. Here we are viewing a sound, Howe Sound in British Columbia. A sound is an inlet of the sea, jutting into the mainland or into a large island. A channel, in contrast, is generally a rather narrow waterway between the mainland and an island, or between two islands. A strait is generally a wider, deeper water passage separating two large masses of land. Now let's investigate other physical features shown on maps. Interior waterways. Of these, the ones you're likely to pick out first are large lakes, such as the Great Lakes. Lake Michigan looks like a part of the ocean. It's so large you can't see across to the other side. On the other hand, you can see to the other side of smaller lakes, such as Fox Lake. Fox Lake appears much smaller on the map than one of the Great Lakes nearby. We can learn about different lakes by looking at a map. There is also much we can learn about rivers. Each of the major rivers is joined by several others. Emptying into the Mississippi, for instance, are the Missouri, the Illinois, and the Ohio. These are all tributaries of the Mississippi. The Mississippi begins hundreds of feet above the ocean and thousands of miles from it. Its water comes at first from Lake Itasca, which is the source of the river. Lakes provide the sources for many rivers. You can locate the source of a river on a map. Maps help us learn about rivers, lakes, and coastlines. What else can a map tell us about physical features? Mountains are physical features. How do you show a mountain on a map? To demonstrate, let's begin not with real mountains, but with a model of a mountain range. On a map, we would not see the mountains from the side, but rather from directly overhead. From this position, it's difficult to judge the height of the mountains. We can get more of an idea of the height by moving our lights to the side, casting more shadows. On a map, we can use shadows or shading to indicate mountain ranges. This is used on many simple maps. It tells us that here there are mountains, and here there are mountains. But the map doesn't tell us which mountains are higher. Another problem with shadows is that they don't tell us the height of different areas of level land, as we can show with these blocks. From the side, we can easily see which blocks are higher. But from directly above, it's not so easy to tell. Let's look from the side again and see if we can improve our method. Suppose we color the blocks. We'll use 3 colors to indicate the different heights. Now, keeping in mind what the colors stand for, when we look down, we can tell which blocks are the highest, which are the lowest, and which are in between. Doing this with a map, using one color for the highest areas, another color for the lowest areas, and a third color for the areas in between, we get an idea of the elevation of the land. We can get a more complete idea by using, instead of 3 colors, 4, 5, or 6. Using this many colors, we can give a very precise picture of various elevations. This is why most physical maps use several colors to show elevations. On each map, you'll find a legend or key, which tells what elevation each color stands for. On this legend, one color stands for elevations over 10,000 feet, while another color stands for elevations from 5,000 up to 10,000 feet. On the map, we see that the Rockies are colored to show the highest elevation, while the Appalachians are colored to show the next to highest elevation. So we expect the Appalachians to be somewhat different in appearance from the Rockies, which are several thousand feet higher. Looking at the map once again, we see that there are large areas of still another color. This color stands for one of the lower elevations. So we know that these regions are lowlands, referred to as plains. Some plains are located along coastal areas, as along the Atlantic coast of North America. Coastal plains make up only a small portion of the total plains area of North America. Other plains are the Central Plains, west of the Appalachians. Here we find mile after mile of level cropland. Cattle are more likely to be raised on the Great Plains, which are quite level but somewhat higher in elevation. High plains are marked on the map with a different color from the low plains. Other level areas are found farther to the west, but these are not plains. Note the color of these areas on the map. This color, remember, stands for the second highest elevation. Such high level lands are known as plateaus. Plateaus are generally drier, less fertile areas than plains. So this is yet another physical feature we can learn to recognize with a map. A map can help us gain knowledge about elevation, about interior waterways, and coastlines. So practice reading the colors, lines, and other symbols, as well as the words, on a physical map.